You know, everybody, recently news broke that two things are going to be obviously revealed at Slammiversary this Sunday. One thing is going to be the newest inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame. Now, a lot of people have speculated that they pretty much know who that individual may be. But even if they know who that individual may be, doesn't mean they'll be correct. They might be partially correct, but not entirely. But here's a question, obviously. That obviously I have, as well as everybody else does. Who do you think it'll be that TNA will induct? Now, a lot of speculation is going around that one name, obviously, that's been brought up. One name that's obviously been brought up, and heck, even Facebook talked about this at one of the wrestling groups, is Raven. Could Raven be the next inductee? It's a possibility. Another name, obviously, that'll come up is Hulk Hogan. Even though Hulk hasn't been there that long, his name obviously would be brought up. Now, other names obviously are going to be thrown around for those that have contributed to TNA. Like, of course, maybe even AJ. AJ Styles might get thrown into that. You know, he might get thrown into. Ken Shamrock is a name that might come out of the blue. You know, I mean, he was the first. He was potentially the first TNA champion, or the first world champion under the TNA banner, so he could be thrown in there. Now, who else could you have? You know, it would be funny if you had Adam Pac-Man Jones get inducted, and he was a football player that became a tag team champion, so that would be something. But the list of names is essentially almost like it's almost like the list of names is basically a list of those that you pretty much already know is a lock, no matter whether you like the individual or not. So my top 5 picks, obviously, people may or may not agree with. Number 5, the first one, obviously, again, I have to go with Ken Shamrock as being in the running. Second, I will agree with the possibility of Raven being in the running. Third, I have to go with Hulk Hogan. Because if you want to really get your Hall of Fame over, put someone like Hulk Hogan in. Fourth, the fourth one would kind of be a unique perspective, if you will. I think the fourth one was a tie between two individuals. The fourth one could either be Rhino or it could be Christian Cage. Just saying. Could be one of those two. Maybe, no matter of fact, yeah. The fourth one, well, actually, we should look at a top 7, shouldn't we? Instead of the 7 possibilities for the TNA Hall of Fame and the 7 possible TNA Hall of Fame inductees. Like I said, Ken Shamrock would be 1. Hulk Hogan would be another. Raven would be another. Like I said, then you would have Rhino as a possibility. Christian Cage as a 5th possibility. And the 6th possible name, Kurt Angle. And the 7th possible name, believe it or not, is somebody that Jeff Siegel of OTR Essential and Schleg Daddy TV does not like, and that's Jeff Jarrett. So those to me are the 7 possible names of who would be inducted into this year, who would be this year's TNA Hall of Fame inductee. Those are the 7 names. Now, I'm going to ask this question, and it's an obvious question. Who do you think will be inducted? Do you agree with the 7 possible agree with my 7 possibilities? Who do you think will be inducted out of those 7? Or do you think it might be somebody, we wouldn't really expect? What do you guys think? Now, speaking of Slammiversary, apparently a big name has been signed by TNA Wrestling. The question is, who is this big name? Who did TNA sign to the roster? Who did they bring on board? Well, a lot of names have been speculated around. Some names are just fantasy. Some names are just pure speculation and fantasy, and some are hoping for the best. But who did TNA sign? Who did they bring on board, if you will? Well, 2 names have come about, and they both have already denied any possibility of signing with TNA. And that has been MVP and Batista. Both have denied it. But who else could it be? Who else could TNA bring on board to be part of their company at Slammiversary? Who did they essentially sign to a contract, if you will, to be part of the company at Slammiversary? Who did they initially sign? Who do you think they were able to get? See, the questions are about 2 names that have come out as a possibility besides the ones that have already denied any part of it. 2 other names that have come about have been John Morrison and Carlito. Those are 2 names that have come about. And those could be 2 good possibilities. And again, those are 2 good possibilities as to who could come about. As a big name deal. Now, the question is though, who do I think it is and who do you think it is? Well, I wouldn't mind if you put Morrison in there, because he could be, whether he's John Morrison or John Higgin, he could be a contender in both the World and X Division, in the World Heavyweight picture, in the World Heavyweight Division, and the X Division itself. Same could be said for Carlito. Both have that tremendous upside. Now, if it's a re-signing of RVD, then it's not really that big of a deal. It's just a tease to get us to tune into Slammiversary. Give them that. Give TNA that credit. But, if that's not the case, who else do you think it could be? It's got to be somebody, right? Got to be somebody, obviously, that's worthy of the big name. Now, let's think outside the box, though. And the big name deal, doesn't necessarily mean it's somebody that's from WWE. The big name deal could be someone that's, say, from Ring of Honor. You ever think about that? Yeah, it could be somebody from Ring of Honor. Like, let's say, oh, I don't know, Kevin Steen is a name you can throw out there. Just saying, you can throw that name out there. He's a big name, even though it's independent-wise. But again, who could it be? See, this is the one thing that TNA, I'll give them credit for, that they do best, probably better than anybody. They say they signed a big name, but they're not going to say who they signed. Because sometimes they pretty much know people are going to figure it out. I mean, I'll give you an example of what I mean. I'll give you an example of what I mean. The night before TNA Genesis 2005, I was at a CSW event in Lawrence, Kansas. And CSW, just like any associated independent group, or any independent promotion, whether it's NWA affiliated or not, and this one, and it was, CSW also, through the NWA, was also affiliated with TNA. So me, I got to meet many of the TNA stars. I got to meet AJ Styles, get a picture taken with him. Same thing with Daniels, Samoa Joe, Abyss, Sanjay Dutt. You know, the list goes on. I even met CM Punk's best friend, Colt Cabana. And got a picture taken with Colt. So there you go. Anyway, the point is, back then, rumor was going around that somebody was jumping from WWE to TNA. But nobody knew who it was. And here's the thing. Some didn't know who it was, but a majority of fans did know who it was. And that night, the night before, at that CSW event, people were asking, I think some people close to CSW, some people that were working with CSW, Central States Wrestling, and the NWA, and basically those that sort of have a connection with TNA, of who exactly was coming. Who exactly had been signed, who exactly was jumping, and if it was who they thought it was. And the name that kept getting thrown about throughout the entire week, and especially that night, was Christian. And I think I heard somebody say, yes, it is Christian. Somebody, I don't know if it was somebody working for CSW and the NWA and associated with TNA in some way, but somebody did say, yes, it was going to be Christian showing up that following night at Genesis. And wouldn't you know it, it was. Wouldn't you know it? It was. TNA, and wouldn't you know it was? Because again, that was the one name being thrown about throughout the entire week on the internet, and mostly being talked about at the event, like, who is it? Who's going to TNA? Is it Christian? And believe it or not, it was Christian. And like I said, believe it or not, it was Christian that showed up. His name was being thrown about, and he was the one that showed up. So now the question is, who are they going to bring in this time? Because this is very similar to when Christian got signed. The only difference is we don't know now who this individual is. Could it be somebody that made a name for themselves in WWE? Could be somebody that's making a name for themselves or have made a name for themselves in Ring of Honor. Who knows? My guess, I have to go with my top five. The five possibilities to me are Carlito, Morrison, Masters, even though he's working for Raka King. Who else? trying to think who else you could bring in there. Viscera, maybe, is one name's been tossed about. And I think outside the box you have to go with Kevin Steen from Ring of Honor. Those are my 5 possibilities. But who do you think could be coming to TNA this Sunday? Who do you think they signed? Let me know down below. Give me your comments below. Let me know who you think TNA signed that's a big deal. And it's going to be a big deal for the company. And who do you see them initially feuding with, or even siding with? Do you see them feuding with AJ? Do you see them siding with Aces and Eights? Or do you see them siding with TNA? Me? I think I'd have them probably side with TNA to give them some strength. That's what I would do. But then again, if you want to keep the Aces and Eights storyline going, you have them side with Aces and Eights. But we'll have to wait till Sunday night to see what occurs. But let me know what you guys think. Who do you think your 5 possibilities are that have been signed as the big name deal? And do you agree with my 5 picks? And also, do you agree with the 7 possible candidates to be the next Hall of Fame inductee for TNA? Let me know what you guys think below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to y'all later.